Good morning.
Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. There's a long white robe in heaven, I know.
A long white robe in heaven, I know.
There's a long white robe in heaven, I know. And I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. There's a pair of wings in heaven, I know.
A pair of wings in heaven, I know.
There's a pair of wings in heaven, I know, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. There's a starry crown in heaven, I know.
A starry crown in heaven, I know.
There's a starry crown in heaven, I know, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. There's a golden harp in heaven, I know.
A golden harp in heaven, I know.
There's a golden harp in heaven, I know, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, good news. Chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind.
Good morning. That was upbeat and beautiful. Thank you. Our musicians today is Anton Miserek and Laura Berryhill. Good news. Good morning, Rev Michelle Ariano. I'm filling in for Rev Kimberly, who has a well-deserved Sunday off. I'm so grateful you decided to be with us today for the Sunday service. CSL Rogue Valley is an inclusive, progressive spiritual community dedicated to teaching tools to transform personal lives and help make a world that works for everyone. We welcome you no matter where you happen to be on your personal journey. We are an all-inclusive, all religions, philosophies, the ancient religions, the truths that carry through from decades and centuries after centuries, those truths, that innerness of who we truly are. As I mentioned, our musicians, Anton and Laura, are with us today, and they always bring such sweet spirit and sweet music to our services. Our practitioner for today is Maggie Corvallis, and she will be doing the opening prayer and reading, and she is a beautiful light spirit, and I'm grateful that she's with us today. And holding high watch for us today is Wendy Wellborn, and she is a practitioner and also a beautiful spirit. I want to just take this time as we open to thank our amazing morning crew who get here early and are so incredibly dedicated to this service and creating this beautiful space for us to walk into as we roll out our service for you today from our hearts. So welcome. I turn it back over to Anton and Laura.
opening, I ask you to, if you feel comfortable, take a deep breath. Release that breath. You can close your eyes if you feel called to. And know with me, right here, right now, as we gather in this sacred service, that we are surrounded by a power of love and light and life that embraces us, that cherishes us, that is with us with every beat of our hearts. This power, this presence is God. We are one with God. And I know today, as we gently turn towards fall, that anything that does not serve us, anything that we're ready to let go of, falls gently from us. We are as the trees. We prepare that space. We let go of what doesn't serve us anymore. And we create a sacred space for new life to bud forth. I know as we gather today that this beautiful music, the lovely voices of our musicians, Reverend Michelle's inspiring talk, remind us that we are always loved, always ready for that new life to emerge, and that the love and light that we hold in our hearts and share with this world create a healing balm, a rain that gently falls, water that fills every space that needs to be filled, creates new life, new love, new joy, and wholeness for a world that needs it. I'm so grateful to be a part of this service. I'm so grateful to be a part of a loving community. I bless this service and all those that attend, and know that that love ripples out beyond our community into the world. I bless this service by saying, and so it is. So yesterday, we had our first really sweet rain of the season, and you could almost feel the joy. Saw lots of people posting about how joyful it was. And I'm reading from a book today called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she has a section about the language of rain I'd like to read to you. And she writes this as she's standing by a pool of water in the rain. The pool is overhung with branches of vine maple reaching from the shore, a low spray of hemlock, and from the gravel bar, alder stems inclining over the edge. Water falls from these trees into the pool, each to its own rhythm. The hemlock makes a rapid pulse. Water collects on every needle, but travels to the branch tips before falling, running to the drip line, where it releases in a steady pit, 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 drawing a dotted line in the water below. Maple stems shed their water differently. The drips from maple are big and heavy. I watch them form and then plummet to the surface of the pool. They hit with such force that the drop makes a deep and hollow sound, bloink. The rebound causes the water to jump from the surface, so it looks as if it were erupting from below. There are sporadic bloinks beneath the maples. Why is this drop so different from the hemlock drips? I step in close to watch the way the water moves on the maple. The drops don't form just anywhere along the stem. They rise mostly where past year's bud scars have formed a tiny ridge. The rainwater sheets over the smooth green bark and gets dammed up behind the wall of the bud scar. It swells and gathers until it tops the little dam and spills over, tumbling in a massive drop to the water below. Bloink. Shh from the rain, pit, pit, pit from the hemlock, bloink from the maple, and lastly, pop of falling alder water. Alder drops make a slow music. It takes time for fine rain to traverse the rough surface of an alder leaf. The drops aren't as big as maple drops, not enough to splash, but the pop ripples the surface and sends out concentric rings. I close my eyes and listen to the voices of the rain. The reflecting surface of the pool is textured with their signatures, each one different in pace and resonance. Every drip, it seems, is changed by its relationship with life, whether it encounters moss or maple or fir bark or my hair. And we think of it as simply rain, as if it were one thing, as if we understood it. I think that moss knows rain better than we do, and so do maples. Maybe this one thing is rain. There are only raindrops, each with its own story. Listening to rain, time disappears. If time is measured by the period between events, alder drip time is different from maple drip. This forest is textured with different kinds of time, as the surface of the pool is dimpled with different kinds of rain. Fir needles fall with the high-frequency hiss of rain. Branches fall with the bloink of big drops. And trees fall with a rare but thunderous thud. Rare unless you measure time like a river. And we think of it simply as time, as if it were one thing, as if we understood it. Maybe there is no such thing as time. There are only moments, each with its own story. I can see my face reflected in a dangling raindrop. The fisheye lens gives me a giant forehead and tiny ears. I suppose that's the way we humans are, thinking too much and listening too little. Paying attention acknowledges that we have something to learn from intelligences other than our own. Listening, standing witness, creates an openness to the world in which the boundaries between us can dissolve in a raindrop. The drop swells on the tip of a cedar, and I catch it on my tongue like a blessing. And so it is.
This is a song by Anton Mizorek.
We are the crown of creation. Nature becoming conscious of herself, swimming in an ocean of sensation, discovering the vastness of our world. And these times are times of great mystery. These times are times of great choice, as we answer the call of our own destiny. We must each speak our own truth with our own voice. And if there's one great light, we must find it all. And if there's one great peace, we must find it all. If there's a oneness in life, we must find it all in our hearts. These times can be times of great hope. These times may be times of personal struggles. But these times can be times of limitless growth. And if there's one great light, we must find it all. And if there's one great peace, we must find it all. If there's a oneness in life, we must find it all in our hearts. Find it all in our hearts. Find it here in our hearts.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Anton, for sharing your beautiful music and souls with us. And thank you, Maggie, for that reading. And I just think of that drop in the dew, and I just rejoice in the rain in our valley. I just feel like it's been so dry, and for us, it's like the autumn's coming and the rain, and it's just this refresh time for us, and beautifully said. Rolls right into the talk. So the talk today is reaching higher, and it is the theme for Centers for Spiritual Living. And really what I'm meaning with reaching higher is also reaching deeper within in our souls, connected to our oneness. There's a quote from the Dalai Lama: "We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves." And I've been feeling that lately. There's so much going on in our world, and I know that we talk about it, and these are times that none of us have ever experienced before, with the pandemic and the division in the world and the wildfires and the climate change. And it is hard to maneuver some days. It is hard to maneuver some days. And what I have found for myself, what feels right is going deeper. What soothes my soul and what feels good is going to that place that is infinite, that is divine. And what brings me there is my spiritual practices. And what I have found is that has become non-negotiable for me. And I talked about this a little bit when I did my last talk. When I'm off right now with so much going on in the world, I can go on tilt pretty quickly. And what keeps me grounded and what keeps me balanced is my spiritual practices. And I don't think I could say enough about that. You know, the moving into the silence, being in nature, meditation, dance, music, whatever that is that speaks to our souls, those are our spiritual practices. Walking in meditation in nature is one of my favorites. Like, that is like a gift to me. And so I just also want to take a minute to send love out to the world right now, and out to all of those that are feeling pain, out to all of those that are suffering, and all of those that have been affected by the pandemic and by the fires and by the division. I just send so much love and blessings, and just know that you are love. Know that you are love. And we are one. You know, we are one. We are all connected in spirit. And I think sometimes when things get challenging, that's not always easy to remember. And I remind myself of that quite a bit. Another quote that I have is, "A tree is fertilized by its own broken branches and leaves." You know, and as we move through diversity and adversity in life, it also calls us to wake up at a greater level. It calls us to move deeper, like I said, for me even, and I think for each of us, to move deeper within ourselves and to find our place daily in this world. And I went to a Michael Franti concert, and his music is just so powerful. It's about love and unity and oneness and connection. And he said in one of his songs, which really hit me, I woke up this morning and I took a deep breath. And the fact that I woke up and that I was able to take a breath, I am blessed. And I was like, wow, like that, right there says so much in such a small little compact way, in how this life is challenging and it's crunchy and it's rocky, and it is also this incredible, beautiful blessing. And if you might see my eyes leaking, I say this all the time, but when my heart overflows, my eyes leak. And so I leak, and I'm totally okay with it. So I just let everybody know. And so a quote from Eckhart Tolle from The Power of Now: when challenges come, as they always do, make it a habit to go within at once and focus as much as you can on the inner energy of your body. Attention is key to transformations, and attention also implies acceptance. Attention is like a beam of light, the focused power of your consciousness that transmutes everything into itself. Whew. And I really feel that as how I show up in life, and being in a place of being conscious of my actions, of my thoughts, of how I'm giving love. We just started our Practical Mysticism Class, and it's so incredible to move into the space that is about our heart space, and am I showing up? Am I giving, or am I taking away? How am I showing up? Am I coming from my heart place, or am I coming from the head, ego, scared, whatever place? And asking myself that question quite a bit. I have a really wonderful quote from Ernest Holmes, our founder, around difficulties that really speak to what I'm saying. Is we may meet difficulties, uncertainties, and doubts, barriers wailing our passage, but we must not be discouraged when so confronted. We must climb over the rocks of unbelief, pass around the barriers of doubt, and plunge into the stream with faith. The stream will ever widen, the barriers will gradually disappear. Though we walk through the plains and valleys of indecision and doubt, the stream will carry us back to the ocean of our being. That really speaks to my soul. That is so beautiful. It's moving from that heart space, moving from that soul space, and allowing ourselves to open. And I used to think, and I don't know where I used to get all of these ideas that I used to think about. I used to think, when you live from your heart space and you live from a place of love, like that was soft and just soft and cuddly. And what I have learned in life as I have moved through my journey, being in a place of love and being in a place of peace and seeing the beauty in this world, it takes great power, great love, great fierceness, and a dedication to really walking this path from the heart, walking this path and creating a life in a world that works for everyone. So as we took this journey this week in the Practical Mysticism class, the class is based on entering the castle by Carolyn Myss, which she has based the book on St. Teresa of Avila, the interior castle. And this is a quote from St. Teresa. I began to think of the soul as if it were a castle made of a single diamond or of a very clear crystal, in which there are many rooms, just as in heaven there are many mansions, some above, others below, others at each side and in the center and the midst of them. All is the chiefest mansion where the most secret things pass between God and the soul. Teresa of Avila, Interior Castle. And this ride that even preparing for this class that I have been on, I have been swimming deeper in my soul. And as I have continued to open my heart to swim deeper in my soul, I'm getting more messages. I'm listening more. And as I'm listening more, life is opening up for me more and more. And what I had a realization a few days ago, and I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but a lot of times when I get stuck in life, I'm getting stuck because of my resistance. And my resistance could be something as little as I'm getting an inner nudge to go meditate, and I don't go meditate. Oh no, I'm busy, I could do it later. And then I don't receive the blessing, and I don't move back into a place of my heart. And this realization even felt deeper for me, and the understanding is even the simplest nudges, just those little whispers from my heart, make the biggest difference in my life. In how I show up as a loving being, both to myself and to others. So with Carolyn, she really kind of brings this together in the book. And as she states, and I believe, we all have the mystic inside of us. And do we wish to enter the castle? Do we wish? And then that wish is continuous. That's just not a one-day wish. That's an everyday wish to enter the castle. Mysticism is spiritually radical, as Carolyn Myss states in the first chapter. Those that have gone before us help show us the way. One of my favorite mystics is Rumi, and I quote Rumi quite a bit, and one of my favorite quotes is by Rumi, which brings this, I think, to such a great example, is you are not a drop in the ocean. You are an entire ocean in a drop. That's one of my favorite quotes. And I think, you just feel, and that's how these mystics show us the way, you feel this overflowing love and presence and oneness. And the oneness surpasses any type of religion or any type of division. It merges all in this sea of spirit. And mysticism is that. And we are mystics. It's inside of us. And do we choose to go into those castles? Do we choose to bring that out? Another point that I thought was wonderful in the book is modern day mystics live within the world. And so there's an example that I want to read from Entering the Castle, Carolyn. And this is an example of the modern day mystics. So she emphasizes in the book that, some of the mystics from the past who have just been incredible examples of unconditional love and unconditional oneness were, in sanctuaries or tucked away in a temple on top of a mountain. And the mystics today are mystics out in the world. The world is calling for that. You think about the Dalai Lama and how much he is in the world. And so she gives a couple examples of modern day mystics, which I thought really, really shows us what it looks like for today. So Edgar Mitchell was an astronaut on Apollo 14, a historic flight to the moon. When he was traveling back to the Earth, he had an experience for which, he has said, nothing in his life prepared him. Viewing Earth from space, he was filled with an absolute inner conviction that our planet is a part of a living system, which is conscious, which is the conscious universe. Within 2 years of his flight, Mitchell founded the Institute of Noetic Science to explore the frontiers of human consciousness and the possibilities of global peace. It's a modern-day mystic. Another man, she states, I know, had a near-death experience in which he entered and he encountered a being of light that guided him through a review of his life. He saw examples of what could have been in his life. He had the courage to make the difference. So if he had the courage to make the difference, what could that have been? His choices, were they motivated by faith or were they motivated by fear? He was given another chance at life and returned to his body. He now lives what he describes as a far more open and loving life, in which he is no longer afraid to be a devoted husband, a supportive friend, and an honest individual. That is his highest calling. He did not feel compelled to bring and build a healing center or jump into a huge global project to make a difference in the world. He lives a life congruent with his faith and his soul's direction. He too is a mystic. And I just thought that was such a beautiful example of our soul's calling. And, you know, I had a moment this weekend where I was, kind of grappling with a few things and some, news that came in that was a little bit challenging and some division and people in my circle. And I really went within and I meditated. I listened to the nudge. I meditated, and the meditation just was fully aligned with my soul. And I thought about my next step, and we have some visitors right now. Eric's son is staying with us, and his girlfriend and their dogs, and I was the only one home. And I thought, what's my step right now to do? And what I heard was, take the dogs for a walk and spend some quality time with them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen. And they're a handful to walk with. So I got the leashes and I got the dogs, and we went and walked on the bike path, and they were so happy. There was so much joy coming from them that it brought so much joy to me. It was those little nudges. That's living on purpose, and I used to think that living on purpose, I did have to have this big global vision and, help bring world peace and what I have realized the longer and longer I have been on, and that's all good. But for me and for each of us as an individual, it is our soul calling, and whatever that soul calling, a smile, a gift to a friend, a hug, taking some dogs that really want to go out on a dog walk. It can be listening to a meditation, taking care of ourselves. It's our individual soul footprint. And it can be just the gentlest nudges that our soul is calling us to do. And we are all, and I love this part of this wild human race that we are all individual expressions of the divine. We are unique footprints. Nobody else has our unique footprint. And what the world is asking for right now is for us to live in our souls and bring our footprint in, and that is just like the gentleman that Carol and Miss talked about, of just being a loving dad and a good friend and living congruent to his soul's purpose, or somebody that builds noetic science and works on world peace. I mean, it's the full gamut, and it's how we show up every day. So one of the questions that Carolyn asked, one way to seek a sense of the sacred and personal revelation is to ask. And these are 3 questions that, it's soul talk. It's the deeper questions. And so the 3 questions are, for what reason was I born? And these questions are really questions to meditate on or to journal about or to really let ruminate in us. For what reason was I born? What is the greater purpose and meaning of my life? What is the greater purpose and meaning of my life? And the third one is, how am I meant to be of service? How am I meant to be of service? And she states, asking one of those questions is like tampering with mystical power tools. These questions can guide you into the castle of your soul. This, life that we are on right now is a wild ride. It is an adventure, and it does have all of the facets of life. Just like the Teresa of Avila talks about the facets of our soul. And each of those facets can bring us closer to our souls if we choose to let them. It can bring us further from it, and it can bring us closer to the soul and just closer to who we are. And when I'm in that soul space, in that heart space, and I'm authentic to myself, everything else seems to work from there. It's like the stream that our founder Ernest Holm talks about. Like, we get back into that stream and we flow with life again. So there's a quote from the curriculum on Practical Mysticism Class is, mystical experience is always available, like the divine grace it is, to any who really want it. And all human beings are given in the course of their lives glimpses into the heart of the real, which they are free to pursue or forget. And I bet you, and this is from Andrew Harvey, if we all thought about it, and we talked about this in class on Wednesday, we've all had experiences. It's a birth of a child, it's being in nature, and all of a sudden just feeling this moment of oneness. It's being with a family member or a spouse or a child that you love. It's doing the things that you love, that you feel something, you feel this backing of the universe moving through you. You feel your connection with it. I remember the first time I really felt it in a sense that I could articulate it was I was in Yosemite looking out over the valley of this vast valley with trees and rivers and mountains, and it lasted like seconds, a few seconds, and I felt at one with everything, and at one, and nature really is at oneness for me. And so the message today is about allowing ourselves to be with our mystical selves, and to each day a step into our soul and into our hearts and living from that place and sharing that with the world. That's what the world's calling for, because as we raise our vibration, we raise the vibration in the world. And right now, I think that is the biggest calling. And a lot of times, I think most of the time, before big change happens or big evolution takes place, there's the stirring up, the chaos before that propels the change to come through. And I believe we're in a lot of this right now that's propelling us to move to a higher consciousness, propelling us to be more in a place of love and understanding and connection and oneness. And that place, that's the real. You know, that's the more real than anything else. That's the more, it was interesting because in class, even some people had thought the word mysticism was kind of a woo-woo kind of term, you know, like crystals but what's interesting is some of those things that we might have thought, even for me when I was young, and being in meditation and being at one with spirit, that's more real than anything else. That's the realness with the capital R. That's the realness. And so allowing grace to expand your soul only as it can, you know, and that's kind of the arch and the message is, and Carolyn does talk about it quite a bit in the book, and so did Teresa of Avila, is allowing ourselves to be a place of grace. So, you know, in that, like the Dalai Lama says, that starts within us. That we allow ourselves to give ourselves grace. We allow spirit, we allow the grace of spirit to move through us and to fully love and embrace all of who we are, you know, and I am quirky, and I am a handful, but I love that about me. I mean, how boring would I be if I was perfect? Life is this wild ride, and so the more I can embrace myself and allow grace in my life, and allow myself to let grace move through me, it flows. It flows. And I can truly see and feel the beauty of the grace. And, you know, the last kind of thing that I wanted to share with you today around that is 12 years ago this week, I started Practitioner Studies. And I remember when I was taking classes, I was just so on fire with the teachings with CSL. But I was also like Native American and Sufism and like Buddhism, and I loved all of like the universal truths and how they come together. And I was just out exploring. I went to a conference at Asilomar, and there was so much love and so much connection and so much beauty. I knew I had to become a practitioner. And when I embarked on that journey, I think back over these past 12 years, and I think about how blessed I am. I mean, how many times I've forgotten, how many times I've resisted, how many times I've gotten off track, but how many times I listened, and how many times I showed up, and how many times I allowed my relationship with spirit to grow, and my relationship with myself and my soul. And I feel so incredibly blessed for that, so incredibly blessed. And I just love the synchronicities of life when you line up to your soul's calling, like everything comes in to assist you. And you know, and for that to happen right before I do a talk is to be at my 12-year anniversary around that. It just was a milestone for me. And so I just call all of us to just allow the grace to move through us. You know, one of my favorite sayings, and I invite you to use this if it works for you, is by the grace of God I go. By the grace of spirit I go. By the grace of divine I go. By the grace of God I go. And that brings me peace as I'm walking my steps. That brings me peace, and it allows life to happen on life's term. You know, and that's another piece that I think is so important about this living this life from our hearts and our soul, is this surrender to what is. And the more I surrender to what is, the more I can move, the more I can be in the space. So as autumn is here, and as I start to close, I have one more quote for you. Autumn is the eternal corrective. It is ripeness, color, and a time of completion. But it's also breadth and depth and distance. What person can stand with autumn on a hilltop and fail to see the span of the world and the substance of the rolling hills that reach to the far horizon? Hal Borland. This hill, this valley. So I invite us all to reach to this high horizon, deeper within, deeper without. And I am so grateful for each of you, and I'm going to move into a moment of prayer. Allowing Spirit to move in, through, and around, knowing that it is all God, that we are all connected in Spirit. We are all connected in Spirit, that the oneness, the beauty of our oneness, is divine love, divine light, divine wholeness, divine peace, and divine grace. And as we allow grace to fill us up, we allow ourselves to let it overflow and share that grace with the world. Because what the world is calling for is for us to truly be our soulful selves. And that knowing as each step we take, Spirit is with us every single step of the way. By the grace of God we go, by the grace of God we go. We flow, we allow, and we let it be, knowing that it is good, that it is God, that it is now, and that we are here on purpose. I say thank you, God, thank you, life, thank you, oneness, thank you, wholeness, thank you, grace. I release it into the universal flow, and together we say, and so it is. Turn it back over to Laura and Anton.
Who are just about ready to grab it. Here we go. A song, Autumn Rains. I wrote it back at Unity Village 20 years ago. Autumn rains, different than spring rains, which are nurturing. Autumn is like that purification after that long drought of summer. We're so grateful. Autumn rains, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Gama pa, ma pa garesa, nisa gama pa, ma pa sa, nida nida pa, dapa dapa ma, pada pa ma ga, dapa, nisa gama pa, ma pa garesa, nisa gama pa. Ma pa sa, nida nida pa, dapa dapa ma, pada pa ma ga, dapa, dinna din din na na dinna, din din na na dinna, din din na na dinna, din na 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 dinna, din din na na dinna.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now is the time for our offering. Our giving affirmation is, graciously I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. And so it is. Giving opportunities, you can give on our website and hit the donate button, www.cslroguevalley.org. There's also a donate button on Facebook, or mail a check to P.O. Box 1458, Medford, Oregon 97501. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your presence. And the announcements. So, Practical Mysticism Class. I really did want to speak about the class, but there is still an opportunity to join the class. And so it's Wednesday evenings, and it's from 6 to 8:30 p.m., and this is the last week to join. We have 8 wonderful students, but we would love for you to join us if you feel called. And then Rev Kimberly Hopkins is going to be doing a Foundation Science of Mind class during the day on Wednesdays, starting October 6th, 10/6. You can sign up for either of the classes on the website, again, cslroguevalley.org, and sign up for our newsletter or on our Facebook page. Also, prayer requests can be submitted on our website, and I want to hand it back over to Anton and Laura for our closing song.
We're going to do for you an oldie but goodie.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You gotta love that harmonica at the end, too. That was beautiful. Thank you, Laura and Anton. Absolutely beautiful. Let peace begin with me. Another big thank you to our Sunday crew. This dedicated crew are out here every Sunday working with the video and the sound and setting up and making sure that everything flows. So thank you so much for your service. You really create a sacred space for us to bring the service out to the world. And a closing benediction is, yes, let there be peace on this earth, and let it begin with me, knowing that God is in, through, and around each one of us. Always, 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 always. And as we move with the flow of spirit and ride the waves of life, we know that grace holds us each step of the way. By the grace of God we go. I release this out into the universe, giving great, joyous thanks to all the good that is there. And together we say, and so it is. Namaste and blessings.